I always come from a place of positivity and trying to elevate people, even in times of crisis. That's not to say that I'm, yay, the world's always awesome, because reality is it's not, but it's about surrounding yourself with people that can get you the help you need. So for me, I think post-COVID here, we found the transition in some of the relationships with rental providers. So it used to be just renters that would give, some fairly tricky conversations with property managers and leave them feeling a bit stressed at times, a bit demoralised, a bit deflated. Whereas now, because of the change in our minimum standards and the expectation for some of these rental providers to, spend significant money in their properties to bring them up to the required standard, that's caused a bit of pushback in some of the relationships that are new or have been long-standing between our property managers and their clients.
Welcome to the Property Management Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Now, this is the place where we dive into the real talk behind running successful businesses, building powerful teams, and navigating the beautiful chaos that is property management. And if you've ever found yourself staring at your team, wondering, how on earth am I supposed to lead all these people effectively and still get through my emails, then this episode is just what you need. Today, I'm joined by the incredible Rachel Atkin, Head of Property Management at Harcourts Victoria, a performance coach and one of the most respected leaders in our industry. With over 2 decades in real estate, Rachel is known for delivering high-impact solutions, developing top-tier talent, and transforming chaos into calm, all while keeping people at the heart of everything that she does. She's a powerhouse speaker across Australia and New Zealand. And in this episode, we are very lucky to have Rachel sharing some of her best tools, tips, and leadership insights to help you also lead a people-first culture, no matter how big your team is. We talk about systems, mindset shifts, and practical steps that you can take to lead with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Trust me, this episode is packed with golden nuggets that you can implement straight away. So grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and get ready to feel inspired. Rachel, welcome to the Property Management Podcast. I am super excited to have you here. We've connected a while back now, and it's taken a few goes to get us here, but I'm so grateful that you're here. Before we dive in, can you share with our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the industry?
Oh, shall do. Thanks, Kylie. And it's so good to finally connect. I've been looking forward to this for such a long time. So I think we're going to have a great time together today. So my background is predominantly in property management, but I am nearly at 25 years in property management. So must have started when I was quite young. Actually didn't though. Interestingly, had a career in advertising media in the real estate space before coming into real estate. So I just love the property management industry, everything about it. I love supporting people, helping our clients grow, as well as looking after our network and helping upskill them. So it's a very blessed role that I have here at Harcourts, and I love every minute of it.
That is amazing. And you look very young still, so don't worry about that.
Blessed. Girl power. Thank you.
That's right. So look, you are no stranger to leading large teams, and I don't know how you do it. I take my hat off to you. So maybe just share some of the biggest challenges that you're experiencing from your perspective at the moment, with teams and what's happening in the Harcourt group there.
Yeah, sure. And, again, leadership is such an interesting space to talk about. And I think it changes all the time at the moment. So one of the biggest challenges I think a lot of us have had is around the recruitment space and retention of good property management staff. So we're seeing a little bit more of stabilisation there, but certainly it's still having an impact there. Whilst it was important that we changed the licensing requirements and education level required to get into property management and real estate here in Victoria, it certainly did put us in the hole for a little bit. So now we're getting some stability back in teams. It is becoming much more rewarding, I guess, to work with people as a leader of large teams and see them start to really upskill and grow within their roles within the network. So many, many challenges, but I am blessed with an amazing team of great heads of department and property management leaders across our Vic network who really collaborate with me, and we partner together to make sure that their staff, our teams, get the best experience.
Amazing. So let's maybe break down some of the challenges and the struggles then. And I want to start with a struggle that I personally had when I had my business. And like we probably had 25 people in our team, was probably the largest we had. That's a sales team and a property management team. And I really struggled with all the different personalities and the problems. And, for me, my personality is very much a worker, just get in, get the work done, and then I'd leave work and I've got to had to run 4 kids around a different, so for me, work was, I had to make the most of it. So yeah, so sometimes I probably wasn't the best leader at showing up for people with all their different personalities and problems. How do you deal with that? And what's maybe some advice you can share around that?
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, I think we do intrinsically lead the way we like to work ourselves. And it is quite a shift and a step change when you identify that we need to meet people where they're at whatever stage of their journey and career they're at, and really work to how they like to work best, what their personality profiling is like, and what actually motivates them to do their work well. So we do a lot of, everything from disc profiling of our teams through to understanding different behaviors that drive triggers. So whether that's somebody who's in administration might be quite different to someone who's, leading teams or out there at the coalface, listing business, leasing business, and then our property managers, of course, who are retaining the business. So there's a very important skill, I think, for leaders of large teams in the current economy to understand who their people are, what motivates them specifically, and how do they like to be managed? So I think we're very good at asking our clients, what do you want from me? How would you like me to work with you? It's really important we do the same with our people to get the best out of them.
Absolutely. So then let's dive a little bit deeper then into some of and you mentioned recruitment has been a big issue in the property management, and it has been, I have had a revolving door of property managers at times, and I have found it very hard to retain people. I have, offered big dollars at them. I have offered flexibility in the workplace. I have upskilled people, trained people. And I feel like sometimes when I look back on it, and don't get me wrong, I've had some amazing people who are still friends to this day have come through, but I feel like a little bit of a failure still. And I think a lot of business owners out there can probably relate to that. So what do you guys do? What are the foundations for you guys when it comes to recruitment? Because that's where it all starts, with getting the right people in the door in the first place.
Absolutely. And we're really fortunate because we're actually a registered training organisation at Harcourts. So we do look to recruit firstly for those people who have gone through our courses and programs. So in addition to that, we run recruitment nights as a corporate team for the whole of Victoria. So we do that every 6 to 8 weeks, and we're getting some really good results in terms of recruitments from that initiative this year. So we've been fortunate there that we're sort of, looking to skill up or upskill people under our banner, bring them into our network, and really help them understand the Harcourts journey from end to end and the progression that's available thereafter. But you're absolutely right when you say it's one of the biggest frustrations and probably a lot of noise for some of our business owners in dealing with that constant turnover. We're seeing people will leave for $5,000, for a job that might be closer to home. So it's really frustrating when you do put in the work not to retain them. And that's when the people piece around an individual development plan or a performance management plan comes into play. And I know everybody throws their hands in the air when they hear about development plan. It actually should be used in a positive way to help people understand, exactly what are my checkpoints? What are we both trying to achieve out of the working relationship? And let's check in on that and make that a living, breathing document and process every 30 days, 60, 90. And it actually helps people have no surprises, is what we find. So through the tough conversations or the highly motivated people that want to run through their career quickly, there's opportunities for everyone to grow and learn through that process alone. So we do that largely online. We do it through running some of our documents in-house. So corporate will support our teams there and our officers to make sure that there's a business plan in place, not just for them as leaders, not just for their various departments, but also for individual roles, whether it's business development managers, property managers wanting to progress. So we do have it all covered here at Harcourts.
So just let me break that down a little bit as well. So you have a development plan. So is that like a career progression plan? Yeah, maybe just talk about maybe a little bit more what is in that, because I really love that idea. I think that's fantastic.
Well, I think we can't manage what we don't measure. So that was, obviously part of the value of a franchise group like Harcourts is that we will structure those business plans at all levels. So when we're all clear on what our goals are, we're all playing to win and we know how to best support one another, whether that's a business owner with a staff member, corporate team with everyone from a first day employee through to experienced leaders and business owners. There's a very defined pathway for everyone to do and become their best. And there's also checkpoints to say, hey, as a values-based organisation, are we being transparent with one another here? Are we checking and calling each other out when we've got opportunities to grow and change that might not feel comfortable in the moment, but let's be honest, feedback is a gift. Sometimes it has to sit and we've got to sit with that and try and grow and take the learnings. And some people move through that quicker than others. But I think if you're always leading with kindness through those conversations, you actually get the best out of people. I mean, no one likes to be told, you think of walking down the street, you might have, your skirt hooked into your knickers or something. But if someone stops you and tells you, sure, there's that moment of embarrassment, but there's that acknowledgement and thankful that they told me. So it's a strange analysis and comparison, but it's the only one I could think of. But really, when you know what we need to work on, everybody knows how to deliver better. So whether it's me with my training and knowing that we've got some common training gaps across the network, that makes it really easy for us to then tailor the right training that's required for that particular group or those individuals. So it is a science, but I think when you're people-led, and particularly for me as a servant-based leader, I love to serve people and I serve them best when I understand them the most.
Amazing. That sounds like an amazing thing to put into a business. Anyone listening, a development plan for your team. Like, as business owners, we have our own business plans, but I think that's amazing to put in place for your team. So what are some of the other practices that you've put into place to help you start getting the most out of your team? Or maybe what you've put in place yourself to be the best leader that you can possibly be? Because without you being the best you can be, you're not going to get the best out of your team, are you?
So true, so true. And you make a good point that as leaders, we do need to put our own oxygen masks on and we do need to make sure that, we're constantly evolving and growing as well. So I'm a huge advocate for people being students of the industry. So for me, you see me as we met at one of the conference events, I'm forever trying to upskill so that I can bring back the most amount of knowledge to the network, keep it fresh, keep it relevant, and most importantly, with all the legislative training and changes happening here in Victoria, that I'm bringing the most relevant information to the team. So it may look seamless, but my goodness, to be a student of this industry, you need to be at it 24/7. And I'm really fortunate that it's something I enjoy. I love what I do. And I think for me, it's such an honour to be able to take that information and develop training courses or webinars from that to really make sure that we're delivering to our people. So it's a huge passion of mine. The other thing I think we've done very well and something I'm huge on is that understanding of people and their own well-being. So you've probably seen me, champion things like the Real Care app and the Rise initiative in my work I do for them as an influencer. What I love best is that Harcourts has actually white labelled that product. So we've offered across the whole network the Harcourts Real Care app. And within that, we give 3 free counselling sessions to our people. And some people have used that for career counselling, which I love. So it's not just for crisis. It's, how do I become the best person I can be and what do I need to do to get that next promotion? So they take advantage of the counselling in that way. Others will do it because they need, some help or support through a particularly trying time in their career or their personal life to be the best they can be when they're at work. We actually have a BDM in the network and I shan't name her, but she's getting married soon. And she's decided to use the Real Care app, the Harcourts Real Care app, for budgeting. So there's a great tool in there that helps people budget their commissions so that we've got the consistency of income, which takes away one more stress for some of our people that are commission based. So she's saving for her wedding and loving that budget and planning tool. So when I think of Harcourts and what we do for our people, it's available. It's just how much people want to take advantage of what's on offer. And we find that there's great buy-in from our network.
Amazing. No, that is so good. And I actually saw when I was doing some research online about you, and you are an advocate and a mental health first aider as well.
I am. Oh, you've done
Yes.
your research. Well done. So,
Yeah.
yes, I was fortunate when I was working for another business as a state manager. We rolled out that mental health first aid training. We saw it was such an important factor in the industry, particularly on the back of COVID in Victoria. There was a lot of overhang of, how do we help people? But it's not about knowing the skills or the language around that. It's about getting people to confide in you that there's something and then getting them the right help or directing them to the right help. Because none of us as counsellors, we're not. But if we can be an information source and a trusted source for someone to open up to and get them the help they need or get them in touch with the people that can best support, I think we're winning there as leaders.
Absolutely. I'm curious to ask you the follow-on question from that, from you being a mental health first aider, is because I know just leading into COVID and then post-COVID, I really noticed a big change in people's mental health in property management. Well, I think it probably got a little bit easier when we were all in lockdown because they didn't have to go out of their homes. I have seen a lot of anxiety, a lot of relationship issues in my teams. What have you seen, or what are you finding is happening with the mental health side of things at the moment? We talk about it a lot, but we don't probably talk about it enough either. So,
if you're ready to be a super organised, focused and productive property manager, buckle up, because Colmio is about to revolutionise the way that you work. Colmio is the driving force behind property management excellence in residential real estate. Now picture this: a comprehensive end-to-end system designed to be the beating heart of your property management tasks, manage your properties, owners and tenants, and handle payments, inspections, and even marketing listings without leaving the platform. Colmio is designed to be an all-in-one solution to all your property management needs. And here's the game changer. Colmio isn't just software. It's been awarded the most innovative prop tech Scale Up in 2023. Yes, you heard it right. Colmio has been recognised for their groundbreaking approach to property management software. How good is that? So property managers, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, dive into the future of property management with Colmio. You can book in a demo with the team today and go in their weekly draw for a Prezi gift card worth $100. All you need to do is to head to the link colmio.com/thatpropertymum, and Colmio is KOLMEO.
It's so true. And I think, I always come from a place of positivity and trying to elevate people, even in times of crisis. That's not to say that I'm, yay, the world's always awesome, because reality is it's not. But it's about surrounding yourself with people that can get you the help you need. So for me, I think post-COVID here, we found the transition in some of the relationships with rental providers. So it used to be just renters that would give, some fairly tricky conversations with property managers and leave them feeling a bit stressed at times, a bit demoralised, a bit deflated. Whereas now, because of the change in our minimum standards and the expectation for some of these rental providers to, spend significant money in their properties to bring them up to the required standard, that's caused a bit of pushback in some of the relationships that are new or have been long-standing between our property managers and their clients. But again, it's about us having them well prepared to have those conversations and understanding it's the law. It's nothing to do with property managers making that assumption or, making the client spend their money. It's actually them taking the front foot in educating their clients on what the law is, what they're required to do under that law, and move to the solution. So if we can upskill our people, which we focus on in our training, to really understand that it's not an us and them, it's this collaboration between our clients, but it's also an education piece. So you elevate yourself as a property manager if you come to the party up front, I think, and give that information willingly instead of going, oh, you need to do a smoke alarm. Oh, now you need to do an electrical or gas check. If you're coming to the party and saying, here are the new updates and the new rental reforms, let me step you through what that looks like, Mr. Rental Provider or Mrs. Rental Provider, and we can budget accordingly and plan for those works for you. So giving people the language and the knowledge to know how to approach that with our clients is so vital. So we've seen a shift in that immediate sort of, argy-bargy between tenants and property managers only. It then became, rental providers, landlords and property managers for a short period. But we're seeing a good shift in that with some of the client surveys that we do. So Harman Costigan, who's my national leader, she's fantastic. And we've recently rolled out something called Ask Nicely. And we're one of the first businesses to actually nationally send out a survey to both renters as well as rental providers, because we really wanted to understand where our relationships sat. And you can imagine everyone was like, I don't want to know. Interestingly, though, and most property managers listening in on this or business leaders will understand, the ones you think are going to give you a back review actually give you a really great score because there's been that transparency in sharing information. So it's been a great initiative of Carmen's to see that really fly. And we're really proud of the numbers we're seeing coming through, and predominantly 8s and 10s coming through. So it's really buoyed on the property managers and rebuilt their confidence around the service that they're providing to their clients because they're hearing it firsthand. There's no smoke and mirrors.
So what's that score again? That's
So it's our NPS, so our Net Promoter Score of understanding, how satisfied the client is. And it's one simple question we ask to get a gauge on that. But what it does too is it's actually helped us prevent loss of business too, because we're getting ahead of any feedback that might be, less than ideal, but we can jump on that, save a client, and actually bed down that relationship more to then get the repeat and referral business. So I think it's when you don't hear from clients, it's like relationships in real life. It's either great, it's not, or they're just indifferent. And I think silence is indifference. So we're really glad when we get, any feedback that we can work on and turn around into a positive experience.
Oh, absolutely. I am such a big advocate of getting that constant feedback. And, happy tenants make less work for the business as well. A lot of businesses just focus on the property owners or the rental providers if you're Victorian, but the tenants' relationships and happiness, and it just makes your job so much easier. And I had a thing, and I constantly 2-3 times a year, not that NPS, but I would just Google survey my clients, tenants and owners every single quarter. But I also would have my receptionist 1 week or 2 weeks a month just keep a log of all the calls coming into the office so that, and we'd look at it, and whatever the consistent calls were, we knew there was a gap in our communication or our processes. So if there was lots of tenants calling about maintenance, for example, we knew that there was a gap there. We had to fix that. They shouldn't need to be calling in. How can we communicate where our maintenance? And then we go and fix that process or go and build a system around that. And I can honestly tell you, when I walked away last year, the phone hardly ever rang. There was 0 rent arrears. We had just literally stopped all the complaints, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We'd fixed it all. There's always new stuff that comes along, but yeah, it's such a great initiative and great things that you guys are doing. And I think anyone listening, there's a couple of really key things that you've shared today that I think you don't have to be a big franchise and you don't have to, have a big budget. There's little things that you can do and make it your own from what you've shared today. They're going to make a huge difference. But back to the leadership side of things.
Sure.
I've just gone off on my tangent then, but
No,
I'm coming back
I tend
now.
to do the same. We get the best conversations flowing, but it's great to circle back onto leadership. I love speaking about all things leadership.
So tell me, what would be your best bits of advice for any leader, a big or small team, that's really struggling with maybe buy-in from their team, is just stuck, doesn't know what to do next, where to turn to?
Yeah. I found it, and this happened to me actually on day 1 at Harcourts. So again, speaking about Carmen Costigan, my leader, I remember sitting down with Carmen on day 1 and we just sat and talked through, I guess you could call it like a happiness survey, but it was really just a check-in of, what things I really enjoyed, how I like to be communicated with, where do I need support, and where do I think I'm confident. So it was really a nice hour-long kind of conversation, and something I hadn't experienced in all of my years of real estate of leadership, that I actually had a leader who wanted to understand me so that she knew how to lead me and manage me. So as a result, we're nearly 2 years into our working relationship and things just get better and better. She really understands the triggers and the levers of what motivates me. And similarly, I do that now with my people as well. So when I'm out visiting offices, I'll talk to teams. I'll initially talk to business owners, then their department heads, and then, everybody from, as I said, your leasing agent through to your receptionist on occasion, through to the senior PMs that have, been in the business a long time. I think having that transparency and honesty around conversations of what works, it really does help to motivate. So, and, I think some of the best relationships, whether it's people that we're leading or our clients, come through hard stuff, right? Sometimes we might need to hear something that doesn't really sit well, or there's some feedback that we receive. And, certainly I've had that experience whilst I've been in this role, but you know what? Those people have become my biggest supporters in the role. And we've worked through some stuff. So I'm now understanding what they need from me in the role and how to deliver on that. So I think when there's clarity, it just leads to success for everybody. And I know I keep coming back to that core principle, but when you take the noise away from leadership, it comes down to people, meeting them where they're at, helping them understand what you need from them, but also understanding what motivates them. And those key principles, I have a philosophy, and people often ask, they talk about what's your why. You hear Brené Brown, Simon Sinek, whoever it may be, and not to discredit their work. But I think for me, the moment I struck on as a leader that I was a servant leader and liked to serve people genuinely, then I found my why, which was I like to leave people, whether that's clients, friends, work, whatever it may be. I like to leave people better than I found them.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. So once you connect into that as a leader, it becomes really empowering to understand how you can help others, work through things that they enjoy and what really motivates them and helps them be the best version of themselves.
I love that. So that's really simple. So you understood yourself as a leader, how you like to lead, and then you found your why you want to be a leader. And I think that can then translate down to your property managers or your BDMs. Why do you, what sort of a BDM do you want to be? What sort of a property manager do you want to be? And why are you a property manager or a BDM? I think that really translates really well. And I don't think we spend enough time, and I never thought about what sort of a leader I wanted to be or what sort of a leader I am. I just thought of myself as a failed leader, really, because I, and I don't know, and I speak to lots of business
as leaders.
We
sometimes feel that guilt. Yeah.
But I hadn't actually thought, I just off the top of the cup, I'm probably a servant leader as well. I love to make sure that everybody is happy, they're comfortable, they feel safe, and I love to roll up my sleeves and get in and do the work with them. So if they've got a difficult conversation they're too afraid to make, I'll get in and support them. I probably did a lot of those calls, and that's probably not great leadership. But anyway,
it's important to model what good looks like and offer that support, because there are times when people just can't. So it's important we step in, do the work for them, show them, and then debrief on the learnings. You think that's where the growth happens. And, for me, it did take a long time to find out what sort of leader, but I think people misunderstand that sometimes kindness and calmness in leadership means that you are soft, but actually it's a superpower. You know why? Because it's all about no shades of grey. There is transparency, there's clarity, but there is a kindness and a supporting factor of people behind that. So for me, that was transformational, and I have to credit Carmen with that in helping me understand that. But the other thing I also say, apart from, leave people better than I found them, the other part to that was I do no harm. So I'll build people up, and yes, I have to have tough conversations. Sometimes that's with clients, sometimes that's with staff or other leaders or business owners. But if you do it respectfully, people can actually move forward and grow from there. So yeah, it really was quite empowering. So I'd recommend that, leaders continue to do the work on themselves, continue to grow and evolve. We'll never know everything, but take something from every human you meet, something that, and so you'll see me at conferences always learning. And if I take one thing from a speaker I heard that adds value to my toolkit as a leader, then I'm putting my oxygen mask on so I can be better for my people as a leader.
Amazing. I love that advice. So good. Now, I end the podcast episodes with a personal development tool. Do you have something that you can share, a book, a resource, a podcast?
Yeah, guiltily, I'm reading the Diary of a CEO. I think everybody is after seeing his session at ARIC earlier this year. I was so inspired by the approach to that and the simplicity around leadership and leadership becoming a science almost and something that you can chunk down. So that's been my secret, but also Mel Robbins. I've been reading her Let Them theory. I wasn't sure what to expect when I went into reading that book, but it has been really helpful in me decluttering any noise from my head. And I think as female leaders, we tend to overthink on occasion, and that's not to stereotype, but you tend to overthink sometimes. And that for me was a real line in the sand moment of, okay, I'll change who I can work with. If I can't, then that's okay. I'll let them do them and move forward. So it's really clarity in its truest form as a leader, and it's really quite empowering.
We have just actually got the Let Them for our PM book club that we started. So that is this month's read. So you'll have to jump on and join our end of month catch up with other property managers. Yeah. So that's our book this month. So we've got 80 members in the book club now. So if you've got anyone in your Harcourt team that loves reading and wants to be part of a learning and growing community, we started the PM book club. So which is this episode's not a plug about that. But
it's so important that we do that, because again, what you're championing there is making time for yourself, committing to yourself to read a book a month and to take the learnings from that. So I love that. We'll definitely be, encouraging participation there. And I'd love to join yours at the end of the month about the Let Them.
I will. That'd be amazing.
Thank you.
I have absolutely loved this conversation with you. How can our audience connect further with you if there's any leaders that might be struggling that want a little bit of Rachel advice?
Oh, look, and I'm an open book to the entire industry. I do believe in collaboration over competition. So best to reach me on Instagram. So rachelatkin.harcourts is my Instagram handle. But, certainly on LinkedIn, you'll find my email and my phone number. You're welcome to connect in any time. But anything I can do, I love being at that legacy stage where I can actually help build the next generation of property managers and future leaders in property management. I think for me, that's, such a huge honour, but something I'm really passionate about. So please connect in. I would love that.
You do it so very well as well. You do an amazing job. And before we jumped on, you talked about imposter syndrome. I cannot believe that you have imposter syndrome after what you've just shared then so eloquently, without any ums and ahs like I have. So you did an amazing job, and I'm very grateful.
Kylie. I appreciate it so much. And I think, it's probably healthy if we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome now and then. It means that we're still checking ourselves to be something different and grow. So, thank you. I've really enjoyed our time together. You're a gem. Thanks, Kylie.
Can I ask you a quick favour before you leave this episode? Now, we all know how important reviews are for businesses these days, and mine is no different. If you could spare just a minute to follow, rate and review this podcast, it would mean a lot to me. In fact, what would get me super excited is if you share this podcast with someone in the industry who you think might need to hear some of the episodes right now. And if you'd like to find out more about working with me or any of the products I have to help you start, grow or scale your property management business, head to my website, thatpropertymum.com.au, or check out the links in the show notes.